Hello, I'm Mason South, and this is my teaching of a skill presentation. I decided to do a barbell back squat. Here's a visual representation of the barbell back squat. Obviously, you got the barbell on your back with some plates on there, starting that position. Then you squat down to below parallel or at parallel, and then ascend back up, and that's the complete movement for one repetition. The classification of the skill, the muscle groups activated are your quadriceps, your hamstrings, your glutes, your lower back, even your upper back and your core are used to stabilize yourself as you squat. The environment the skill is performed in, it's a closed skill, pretty discrete. Obviously, you're in a squat rack. The environment doesn't change at all as you're squatting. The only variability of the squat is the weight on the bar. Maybe you're at a different gym using a different bar, using different plates, using a different rack. That's the variability of it. Otherwise, it's the same setup, the same squat every time. The sequence of it is that you have the bar on your back, you set it up with your feet shoulder width apart, 30 degrees out. Once you're set up, you brace, take a big brace breath, and then you descend down to parallel, below parallel, and then ascend back up. Skill level, beginners, they should really not be focused on the weight. Rather, they should be focused on the technical aspect of the movement. This will avoid injury. If they're just throwing 300 pounds on the bar, they're definitely going to get injured. They really need to be focused on the technical aspects. You should be teaching them, what they need to do to brace, what they need to do to squat down and such, how they need to set up. Experts, once they've mastered the skill, then they can start building up in weight. And then the sole focus should be trying to squat for, as many reps or as much weight as possible. Some developmental concerns of a back squat, knee pain always, people say after they squat, their knees hurt. Knee pain kind of holds people back a lot, but also ankle mobility. As you see in this picture here, the knee kind of extends over the toes here. You need some good ankle mobility to sit down deep in that squat, as well as lower back pain. You see kind of this lower curve in the back. Um, Usually that's a result of pain when they get that hump out like that. So you need kind of a strong back. That's pretty much it. Overall strength is also a developmental concern. If someone's just ego lifting, their overall strength, it will catch up to them. They'll collapse under the bar. So it's important that you know your limits as you begin squatting. Measuring performance, as far as skill level beginners, you should measure your performance on whether or not you're doing it right rather than how much weight. It's more of once you get more advanced in the skill, you should be focused on how much weight you have on the bar because obviously you're competing in powerlifting. But when you're a beginner, you should still be focused on the technical aspect rather than the weight. It's fine even if you don't have any weight and you just have the bar on your back, and you just complete that skill, or you complete the skill without any weight. That's completely fine as long as you're doing it right. Then you can start building upon that proper technique. That'll be good. Some qualitative measures of performance are, if you squat deep enough, the main thing you hear is the crease of your hip right here should be parallel or below parallel your knee when you're down in that squat. That means you're hitting proper depth. If you don't hit that, it don't count. Sorry. Some quantitative measuring performance. Obviously, the weight. That's how they measure in powerlifting. You compete, try and lift more weight than others. Some keys to success here. So the proper setup. This is very important. This is when you're just standing there with the bar on your back. You're gonna want to squeeze your upper back, your scapular muscles right there, right? And then have your hands as narrow as possible on the bar, kind of like this, making a W with your feet shoulder width apart, toes pointed out. That proper setup just allows you, it gives you like the best base for to be powerful, have strength when you squat. Proper depth, obviously we talked about it. The hips need to be parallel below the knees. Breathing to brace. This is really important. A lot of people just put the bar on their back, go down, they didn't brace, and they'll start to fall over like this because their core isn't activated at all. When you breathe, you kind of want to think you want your belly to puff up like a puffer fish. So when you're standing like this, fully, you're all set up, you're good now. Before you descend, you want to take one big breath. And just like that, it braces your entire core. And you want to work to not only get the front, but all the way around. Even try and puff in your back. So you feel just that muscle activation through your entire back in your core. You'll just be stronger under the bar. Um, Another key to success, obviously, is core strength. If you don't have a strong core to begin with, you should maybe focus on other, exercises that will activate your core muscles, build that core strength so you can hold the bar on your back and can start back squatting. And then obviously the strength of the quadriceps and posterior chain is huge in squatting because you're using your glutes, hamstrings, quads, your back. If you're not strong enough to squat, you shouldn't be squatting. So, some simple changes you could start with normal body weight squats, grab a kettlebell, goblet squat. Yeah, and just kind of build up to a strength where you can finally start back squatting in a safe way where you learn the technique and you can safely hold that weight on your back knowing that you're strong enough to squat down, squat it back up. All right, motor programs. A back squat, obviously you see in the picture here, you're gonna hinge at your hips and then you're gonna have knee flexion and extension. So right here, we're all straight, right? You're hinging at your hips to sit back and you get flexion in your knees that activates the muscles in your leg. Then when you're down at the bottom, you're gonna want to extend your knees and shoot your hips up with using your glutes to re-extend your entire body to straight standing up. Some transferable GMPs of a squat. Obviously, any hinging movement. So RDL or like a deadlift, you're hinging at the hips. This will just promote overall muscle growth in that hinge movement. It'll transfer over to a squat, as well as doing some like unilateral things. Like let me think, a rear foot elevated split squats. Pistol squats, anything with that flexion and extension of the knee. You could even go in a leg extension machine that'll build up your quad muscles through just flexion of the knees. Those are transferable to a back squat. Your vision, you don't want to be looking up because when you're looking up and you're sitting back down, you're going to fall backwards, as well as you don't want to be looking straight down at the ground because the bar will fold on top of you. You fall forward, which is terrible. One thing I like to think of when I'm squatting is kind of get that sexy chin, and what I mean by that is you want your head, tuck your chin in, making like a double chin like this. But you see what that does when I'm squatting? That makes your entire back and spine flat. So it just that's how the movement's intended to be. You see the neck is neutral in this picture here. You're looking about 5 to 6 feet in front of you. That's typically best to just keep that neutral spine, and as well as stay braced through the entire movement. Some theories regarding a back squat, the specific, I can't talk right now, I'm sorry. Um, Notes here. Yeah, the specificity hypothesis, I'm sorry. That's just referring to you want to practice how you compete, basically, and that's how you best learn the skill. So, if you're a beginner and say you want to start powerlifting, you should get proper weightlifting shoes, belt, knee sleeves, train with the bar that you'll compete with in the same plates. This is just being specific to the skill and the competition that'll help you. End state comfort hypothesis. Obviously, this is like that setup like we're talking about earlier. Um, that's also the most comfortable end state that you want to end in, and it just gives you the best overall stability to hold the bar on your back. So that it shows that in the squat. Um, Contextual interference relates to squatting because different uh, different squat variations are performed. Say like you've been squatting hard for a week, you start to plateau, you hit front squats or Zercher squats. That variation, that contextual interference may promote better learning. You'll improve your squat. The movement complexity theory can relate to squatting because the movement can be broken down into three parts. That's the setup, the descent, and the ascent. Pretty straightforward, but that's the complexity of the movement. Not terribly complex. But then we also got the serial position influence. That's basically just remembering the start and the end and the middle is all blurry. So to better learning, say for example, you're at the bottom of the squat, that's the middle of the movement. And you really want your athletes to think explode, but they're in that middle there. So you should really emphasize exploding out of the hole. Explode out of the hole. That'll help them better learning to understand what they need to do to fire their glutes and finish the movement. Performer characteristics, referring to alertness. Um, some may think it's kind of mindless squatting, but actually you need to be very alert because if you're all willy-nilly messing around, the injury chances are very high that you're going to go down, the bar is going to fall on you, or you're not focusing on your technique, you're going to tweak something, get hurt. Attentional capacity, you don't want too many things in your mind, especially negative thoughts. If you're about to hit like a one rep max, and you're just thinking like, oh, I don't know if I can hit this. Oftentimes you're not going to because of that negative thought in your mind. And from personal experience, when I'm getting underneath the bar, all I'm thinking is brace and explode. I get that bar on my back, I'm thinking brace as hard as I can, squat down, and I'm just thinking explode. Thinking those two cues, those two things in my mind, have really helped my squat excel as I'm just thinking less thoughts in my mind. It's been pretty good. Verbal cues that you want. The setup, obviously. Some verbal cues could just be shoulder width, 30 degrees feet, knees out. That's a simple cue. Get some setup, or squeeze your upper back. Another simple cue. On the descent, you can say slow and control down, hips below knees. Pretty easy on the descent. And then the ascent, a simple cue could be explode or finish through the ground, drive through the ground, anything on that type of note. It's pretty simple verbal cues for a squat, just squatting up and down. Feedback, knowledge of performance versus knowledge of result. Obviously, the knowledge of performance, that's referring to like the bar path depth. Uh, Obviously, yeah, you could talk to your athlete anytime about that, but more so during practice. If you're talking to them during competition about that, it might get in their mind a little bit, but the knowledge of result is simply just the result of the squat. So how much weight they did. I found it's best though through research that for the knowledge of result, if you let them finish all of their sets and track their weights, then you can talk about the weights after and kind of figure out a plan for the future so you can follow along with that progressive overload depending on how the athlete's feeling. Concurrent versus terminal feedback. Um, I found that the terminal feedback is best during competition because you don't want to always just be in your athlete's ear if you're training them. In competition, you want them to kind of be in their own headspace, get ready to compete, obviously. So concurrent, it's more so a practice philosophy. You can talk to them, give them feedback after every set. But obviously during competition, you just want to stick to your main cues you want them to focus on. And really that's it. So you can just focus on competing. Frequency, that's kind of, it differs from beginner to advanced lifters. In the beginning, you want to give a lot of feedback. The frequency should be pretty high, but as someone starts to master that skill, frequency should dwindle a little bit and they should become more reliant on themselves for their own feedback. And they should be looking for what they're doing wrong. And that just promotes overall learning. That's healthy learning. The practice schedule I created, Monday, I kind of, well, first off, I want my athlete to be squatting, at least full squatting, some variation of squat 3 times a week. And that Monday is obviously emphasis on strength. They're going to be completing about 5 sets, 70 to 80% of their 1 rep max, sets of 3 to 5, very heavy, low reps. Then Tuesday is more of a rest day for the athletes, as it's an upper body day, they'll be bench pressing and stuff. But once they complete that, they'll do some lower body mobility, so they're able to get down into that squat position. Plus some light conditioning. It's just maybe ride the seated bike for 30 minutes or so. Then Wednesday is the second squat day, which focuses on volume and muscular endurance. These are sets of 5 to 8, about 6 sets, plus accessories. Say we do RDLs and split squats just to keep building up the muscles instead of just squatting. And then Thursday is another upper body day, but this one is also a high intensity conditioning day because Friday is a recovery day. It's a day off. So I thought that Thursday would be perfect to, hit a little more higher intensity conditioning. This could be on the assault bike, uh, just going 40 seconds hard, 20 seconds off, 10 times, 10 minutes. Pretty simple. Then Friday's the active recovery day. The focus should be but an hour, 2 hours doing something you like doing. You go for a walk, shoot some hoops, anything that promotes a healthy and active lifestyle that'll help you recover as well. And then Saturday's a full body day. And what I was thinking for this is to have the athletes do cleans, full squat cleans. So sets of three. They'll do 3 sets of 3 and then 2 sets of 2. So they can kind of hit a higher clean. But this is a kind of emphasis on power because that hinge movement, they'll come through shoot their glutes through to extend. This is just a powerful movement. It'll help them at the top of their squat when they hit a 1 rep max, as well as it's building strength because they're catching in that front squat position. It's just a different variation of the squat that stresses the quads a little more. And then after the obviously the sets of cleans, what I'm thinking for that is do 2 supersets. One superset focus on posterior chain. We'll do RDLs and pull-ups. And then the next is focus on the front of the body. We'll do leg extensions and plate-loaded push-ups. So you're kind of hitting every muscle group in the body there. And then Sunday is a complete rest day. You should be focused on activities such as, get in the sauna, get in the ice tub, get in the hot tub, just recover your body for the next hard week of training. And you should also be focused on refueling your body with electrolytes and good food. And then here, I'm going to quickly demonstrate proper squat technique. So I'll stop sharing my screen if I can figure out how to stop sharing my screen. Stop share. All right. All right, I'm back. So I'm going to teach how let's set up the squat. You can hear me. All right. So what I would do first, I preferably would want to start from the ground because obviously the ground, you're pushing your force through the ground. So I'd start on the ground, feet shoulder width apart, about 30 degrees out. And if you can see my knee here, if I'm pushing my knees out, my knees naturally point out and that opens up my hips. So here, now that you see the bottom, I keep my legs like that. My hips are opened up now, right? And say I have the bar on my back. I want to squeeze my scapular muscles like so, like this. I'm under, right? And now I would cue my athlete to brace. I'm braced now. My core is tight. I'm ready to squat. Hinge down, like so. Keeping your back straight. I'm hinged down. I'm leaning down, facing forward. My eyes are in the right spot. Hips below my knees. Then I want to explode. Extend back through the movement with my glutes. Fire my glutes through the movement to extend my hips. And yeah, obviously I don't have access to the weight room right now. Otherwise, I would give a better demonstration. But yeah, that is my presentation.